Hello, good afternoon, and it's another edition of Political Update on your darling station, OGTV, Ogun State Television here in Abeokuta. My name is Biodun Alabi, and on the program this afternoon, we have brought you another exciting topic that has to do with the democratic space of Nigeria, and that will also touch a little bit on the coming elections in 2027. I have two guests in the studios to discuss this topic, but that'll be right after this break that we normally take on this program to take you around the nation and let you see some of the political events that are hogging the headlines. We'll give that to you and we'll come back shortly for the introduction of the guest and the topic. Please stay with us.
The presidential candidate of the Action Democratic Party, ADP, for the 2027 general election, Ambassador Ali bin Abbas, has named Honorable Chinazam Ike as his running mate. The announcement was contained in a statement issued on Tuesday by Abbas' Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Jacob Dixon. According to the statement, the choice of Ike reflects the party's commitment to presenting what is described as a united, inclusive, and youth-driven leadership for Nigeria. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu officially presented Vice President Kassim Shettima with a certificate confirming his nomination as the All Progressives Congress APC vice presidential candidate for the 2027 general election. The presentation followed APC's confirmation of Shettima as Tinubu's running mate for the next general election. Tinubu handed his deputy the certificate in a small ceremony at his office in the State House of Abuja. The House of Representatives has withdrawn its proposed constitutional amendment seeking to establish the state police, opting instead to consider a similar bill transmitted by the executive. The development emerged during the Tuesday's plenary, where lawmakers gave the executive-sponsored state police bill its first and second readings.
Aware that new facts have emerged regarding the provisions of the bill, which necessitate a critical review and reconsideration of its clauses to align with national security structure. Cognizance of the need to rescind the decision of the House on the passage of the bill and the constitution of the Conference Committee on the establishment of state police services, the House resolves to rescind its decision of 11 June 2026 on the establishment of state police and dissolve the 12-member Conference Committee constituted on the 9th of July 2026.
The proposed legislation is a critical component of our administration strategy to reorganize Nigerian security architecture to better protect our citizens, and I am confident that the House of Representatives will act quickly to consider and pass it.
The bill was subsequently referred to the House Committee on Constitutional Review for further legislative action. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has called for economic sanctions and visa bans against opposition leaders in the state, accusing them of aiding and abating political violence in the state ahead of the August 15 governorship election. Adeleke made the call on Monday while receiving a delegation of the British government on a pre-election peace-building mission to Osun State. A statement signed by the governor's spokesperson, Olawale Rashid, stated that the governor urged the international community to impose sanctions on politicians and security officials found to be sponsoring or enabling political violence.
All right, that was how we saw the nation politically in the last 7 days. Now, to today's topic, we are looking at political parties and their candidates' credibility test. And we have in the studio this afternoon to discuss this issue a current affairs analyst, Mr. Bayo Olabode, on my far right. Good afternoon, Mr. Olabode.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure being here.
It's a great pleasure to have you here. We also have a political analyst in the studio this afternoon to also look at this issue, Dr. Raymond Idemudia. Doctor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Great to see you.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'd like us to look at this issue on 4 planks. We want to look at the formation or evolution of political parties in Nigeria. We'll look at party ideology, party internal democracy, and of course the candidates' credibility, looking at their growing up, their education, their backgrounds, and all of that. There's no way we want to discuss this issue without first and foremost looking at how Nigeria has grown over the years in terms of political party evolution. Mr. Labode, let's start from you. Obviously, you're the oldest among the three of us.
Looks can be very deceptive.
Let's go to the emergence of party politics in Nigeria. You know, look at the days of AG, NC. How were they formed? What actually informed the formation of these political parties? What are the nuances of credibility that we saw in those in the formations of these political parties then?
Thank you. Now that's going to be more or less like a synopsis of history in Nigeria. If we look at back then, it had more or less a populist groundswell. The rallying point was what the people were craving for. And then let's not forget that we didn't have a population as we have today. I think the last census tells us we are a little over 100 million Nigerians. Back in the 60s, in the days of the Action Group and Azikiwe's party, the Balewas and co, Nigeria was a little under 20 million, I stand to be corrected, or 30. And in the 6 geopolitical zones that we had then, the cravings of the people was what the leaders at that time formed their ideology about. But, with a very big but, there was also the issue of credibility. Whoever they were pushing forward had to pass the litmus test of credibility. They were very, very careful because of the ideals of the 60s, which sadly has eroded our politics for today. If there was any dent whatsoever on your character, on your person, you were withdrawn. I think society itself had that natural checks and balance that made people of questionable character not to dabble, as it were, into politics.
Did that come from the governance of our traditional societies, the Obas, the chiefs in the east, and of course the emirs in the north?
I wouldn't say so. I would say it came. Let me say it was a prevalent reality of their times. I think the more we drift from the past, the more convoluted things have become. I think at that time, if you can put it in this way, Nigeria was asleep, but now it is wide awake. We're in the age of innocence, as one poet put it then. And so the general perspective or the general belief, the norms of that time was based on integrity, credibility. These were the times, sorry to take you back, in which you could see pieces of tubers of yam by the roadside. The person didn't need to be there. He just puts a note, 2 naira for 4 tubers, and people were conscionable enough to put 2 naira there for 4 tubers, and then the person will come back in the evening. But you know, Otilo, if you do that today.
Okay, now, Dr. Ademida, now let's look at what actually eroded those points, the quality of integrity, of honor, you know, that he mentioned. What eroded them? I was thinking in my mind that you know, what we are seeing today, you know, in form of even tribalistic tendencies that our political parties are displaying, you know, came out of the fact that we couldn't hold to the old traditions that led to the formation of the parties he actually talked about.
Well, I would say things have changed over the time, like you rightly said. There are a few things that we need to look into today. First is the economic development. And if we have to look at that, we'll have to analyze in a broader way. If we have to do that, then we have to talk about, you know, corruption. Because like you said earlier, in those days there was integrity, and the population was less. It was lesser population, and people rely on personality integrity and other factors when we're talking about a candidate for these parties. I don't think I was born during AG and the rest, but I know I was here I participated in the 1993 election. That's MK Abiola and Tofa. We knew that these people were two credible people, who were coming out those days. But as things are these days, in fact, almost everybody is joining political parties for personal interest, not anymore for the interest of the country and now
interest of the country or interest of the parties?
Not even interest of the party, interest of the country, because now it's all about what you can personally achieve or gain as an individual these days. Like you rightly said, population has increased, and we still need to educate the masses a lot, because we still have families whereby the father or the mother will tell even the kids, or where we have a traditional ruler telling the people who to vote for. That shouldn't be the case in this modern age. People of age should know. The footprint is there. We can tell, we can see. If we're talking about this, there are few things you need to look at. Economic promises, campaign promises. We have to look at their integrity, their track records. These track records go a long way to tell who A and B is, or who they are, what they've done, what they've been able to achieve. And campaign promises as well, like I said, is a very big factor. Even though they don't keep to campaign promises anymore. We've seen people who promise heaven and earth, don't worry, 1 year in power, I'll make sure there's stable electricity. And this is 3 years and nothing is done. Instead of anything being done, they rather go and make sure they install solar system just in their own house. But then what happened to the masses? So these are the things that we probably need to talk about.
Somehow we've actually moved to party ideologies. Let me ask Mr. Labode, what should party candidates or party members, adhere to in their dealings with the offices they occupy? Is it their own interest, or the interests or the ideologies and the principles of the parties they are representing?
Thank you. I think I will answer that this way. The politics is supposed to serve the people and the common good. So we should begin to bring our lenses back to focus on the populace, the governed, the people themselves. And I think worldwide today, there's a break between the ruled and the rulers. There's a very big gap. Today, people have very, very little trust for politicians and for their words. I think just overnight, I was listening to even the United States, where they were talking about the broken systems in their elections, that it couldn't be trusted. There were loopholes that could be explored and had been explored. Now, I say all that to say this. It should be about the people. What we can do nobody comes into office at the back of his own ideology. If you want to do that, you stay in the public sector. But once you come into the public space, that means your life and all your dealings become, there's no hiding place for the golden fish, like they say. I remember there was a particular candidate that had to drop out of the presidential election because the moment you step in to the arena, then everything about you becomes under scrutiny. There's no more hiding place for you. There's no privacy. There's no go area for you. And in Nigeria, we have a saying in the Southwest that if you don't want to hear the history of who your mom was dating, don't go into politics. Because they begin to tell you gaudy details about yourself. So it's all about the person and then the people that he's serving. Once we can get this right, I think if we push forward the right people, not people who have questionable character. Sorry to take us back, but back in those days in the 60s, you had people who had a vocation that they were doing, from which they came forward into politics. But today it has become so lucrative that people even want to resign from whatever lucrative thing they are doing and come into politics because it is juicier. And it has ceased to be about service because of the perks of office, because of the revenue that comes to them.
Okay, now I'll still stay with you because of the history we are reading out. Dr. Edemunde has actually admitted that he wasn't born that time.
There were books written. My first degree was in history, so at least I have some of it.
Okay, you have all these things. But did you see all of these things manifest in the offices or in those people that occupied public offices in the 60s and the 70s? Yes, you can remember names like Obafemi Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa, Ahmadu Bello, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and the rest of them. The qualities that you just mentioned, that we mentioned earlier on, integrity, of honor, and all of that, did they reflect in the dealings of these people with the public or in governance generally?
Okay, let's not forget that we are dealing with human beings here that have fallibilities. And they had inherent flaws, just like we who are analyzing them are also not perfect. They themselves, who we are scrutinizing today, were not perfect human beings. They were not angels that fell from the celestial realm. They had their own flaws. But I think to a barest minimum, they kept those flaws at the barest minimum. They were not people who were given to avarice. They were not people who were given to overt corruption. And I think to a large extent too, they allowed their words to be their bond. Because back in their days, it was a shameful thing for you to come out as a father of somebody, the husband of somebody, and to be found in telling lies. But today it has become, he just said, no, it's my own reality. And we have found a lot of ways around it to quote it. So they had that code back then. And you couldn't separate them from it because that was the prevalent mood, temperament as at that time. People wanted to be known by their words, but they were not perfect human beings.
Okay, now, Dr. Dimina, let's take it practically now. Awolowo promised free education.
Yes.
He delivered. He promised stadium in Ibadan. He delivered. He promised television station in Ibadan. He delivered. You know, he built Cocoa House, you know, Western region. Bola Ige did that too. Here in Ogun State, Olabisi Onabanjo built Ogun State University, built Ogun State Television. He did so many things. Ambrose Ali did well in Bender State. Old Bender. Rimi also did well. I think was it in
Kano.
Kano. Then of course in Kaduna too and other parts of the north. Now, is it a generational thing that today we have politicians who will make promises or who will come to the electorate with the principles of the programs of their parties, and they don't deliver those programs, you know, to the populace?
Well, I think it's all about integrity, like you said earlier. And to be honest with you, the first thing we need to do in this country is to have a proper electoral system where the electoral body is independent. Because as far as this country is today, whoever is in power still controls the electoral system. And because we've seen cases, we've seen tribunals, people have been to tribunal, there have been a lot of things. See, those days people promised. Maybe most of us were little that time, but I can tell you that in history that I read, we still have, like you mentioned today, we've read it. It's documented. But today we still have it documented that somebody promised us electricity within 1 year, and they said, oh, if I don't deliver, don't vote for me. And we will come back, but they twisted the words. So today, the people, we all know what is right, we all know what is true, but the point is, does our vote really count?
But where's the missing link? I promised that I would deliver electricity in 1 year, and I didn't deliver, and I still went to the polls, and I won.
Well, the thing is this, right? We know that there's a lot of things going on. The economy is so bad. People today, they are not, so many people, sorry to say, they are not even going for credible candidates. But some people are going for people who can give 10, 20,000, I want to say dollars, who can give 10, 20,000 naira as at that point. Because as it is right now, we all know the economy is very crumbled. We all know that people are hungry. Everybody, in fact, it's a national statistics. It's all over the world that people are hungry. And what are we talking about? When people see 20,000, 10,000, they sell their conscience. So with that in place, we can never move forward as a nation. And again, we can never have people who are truly elected into offices. When, take somebody like me, for example, you cannot even give me 100 million and ask me to vote for somebody against my choice. That's because I don't work for the government, I don't depend on them, I don't get no contract for them, I am an independent fellow. That means that no matter how much you put on the table, I will still go for my conscience. But for people who probably work for the government, people who know that they are being monitored, even there are individuals who cannot even say something against the government. Because go to the office tomorrow, there's a letter or query waiting for you on the table. So how do we deal with all this? There's intimidation.
You don't think all of that is also deliberate from the political class? As people say, poverty has been weaponized, you know. Why is it not, why shouldn't it be conscionable for the politician who wants to give the electorate 10,000 naira to vote? Why shouldn't it be conscionable for him to say, no, I won't give you money to vote for me? Vote for your vote with your
Conscience.
With your conscience.
Well, like I said, let me say poverty has been weaponized.
We are only blaming the taker. We're not blaming the giver.
Well, EFCC is there. And if you see things happening this day, I think there's a selective process when it comes to prosecution and trial of people who are corrupt. See, if you don't have the money, you cannot even contest. Imagine how much they are selling governorship, form, president, 100 million. How much is minimum wage we've been talking about? Can a civil servant who is serving actually buy any of this form? Even if you work in the private sector, you must be having big contract for you to say, you know what, I have 100 million today.
A civil servant is a civil servant, he's not a politician.
Well, what I'm saying is, okay, where are these people coming from? Some of them, they're civil servant, they served us as a senator, as a rep member, as a councillor. They started from somewhere. It's only very few of them that started. Okay, look at Fashola, for example, in Lagos. He was a lawyer. Look at, what is it called, former vice president. These people have professions. Okay, look at Tinubu, look at, what is it called, Atiku. He was a custom officer. So these people have professions. Peter Obi will tell you, I was a trader. So these people, they are known with something, like he said earlier, we know them with something, but there are some people who doesn't even have any of this track record. No, somebody just, godfatherism is there. You know what, I want you as a candidate because we know you are popular around here. Go, we sponsor you. So there are some people who are behind some of these candidates. So you know what, we put the money down. And when they are there, that is why they don't do the will of the people.
Is it advisable, is it possible to eliminate these people? I mean, the ones behind the godfathers. We used to have, I mean, there are godfathers all over, even in American politics, French politics, German politics, British politics, and all of that. So is it not a global phenomenon, Mr. Alabadi?
It's a global phenomenon with regional and continental flavor. Now, if you look at the election that brought in Barack Hussein Obama to office, he wasn't the establishment's candidate. Hillary was the establishment candidate. The big donors of the Democratic Party were lining up behind her, and they had put a lot of billions on the table to fund her election. But what did Barack do? He appealed to the conscience of the ordinary people, and then he didn't go for the big money. He just looked for those who could contribute $5, $10, $3. And then by the time you have the multiplier effect in millions, and who could give it consistently, maybe on a weekly or a monthly basis, he was ahead of the curve. And so when he got into office, he was not beholden, as it were, to the establishment. And I think the same thing can be said of Donald D. Trump today also. He's not beholden to the Republican Party because of the wave he rode to come into office. Now that is in that climb. Now, if you bring that home and you have people who have told you that, look, there's Adamawa State that is very far from here, and there's Genye local government there that will need party office, that will need party structure, that will need individuals that will go out and knock on doors for you. This, your grammar will not cut it. So we'll be putting down this money for you. Just make an appearance. And it goes without saying, once they put down that money, there's a contract that you are not going to be giving to any other person. They'll be dictating policy. He that dictates, pays the piper will dictate the tune. So we have that arrangement where, like he rightly said, for governorship election, I think the form alone is about maybe 50 million, presidency 100 million. Now imagine that, for crying out loud. Where the minimum wage is like how much?
70,000.
Now, so, some members of those political parties will tell you that those monies are for the running of the party. But on the other hand, I mean, according to the point, I mean, going by the point you made, the parties are supposed to be funded by the people.
Yeah.
Now we now have people go to those who run political parties and secretariats, charging exorbitant fees for candidates to party members to buy election forms and all of that. Whereas they should have actually gone to the public to get. But again, the question is that, do you think an average Nigerian will be willing to drop 1,000 naira to fund a political party?
Well, I think we have moved past political parties now to individuals, to the personality. Now, the reason why they could put in their $5, $10 was because they've had Barack Obama speak at the Democratic Convention, and they looked at it. This man has something upstairs. He has vision. He has ideas. I can line up behind him. And so why not? You put your money where your money where your mouth is. So they did exactly that. I believe today we may not be there yet, but if we come to that space today, particularly with the generation that is upcoming today, I believe there will be a complete departure from our own generation and the generation that is currently online, where you are free to be your own person, in your own skin. You are not beholden to anybody. Nobody's the puppet master that is pulling the strings behind the stage. If there are no things that we have collected from them that warrants them to be able to make any reasonable demands on you. But if we are going to go into true federalism, into true democracy, this is how it should be run, where there are no money bags. Where there are no money bags that put heavy cash on the table. I'm not saying the West is also free from that, because there are corporations that back these individuals and they try, one way or the other, try to influence policy. But I think we can curb it to a minimum by having the interests of the people at heart. There's no way Google, for instance, would not have, or AT&T would not have a say in American politics. They will line up behind the candidate and they'll bring in their money. And then lobby will come in one way or the other. But in our own case, it becomes very, very different. They do it in a subtle way. There's virtually no holds barred. But if we come to their own realm too, where people line up behind their candidates, this is my 10 naira, this is my 20 naira, this is my 1,000 naira, because I believe in your vision. And let me round up with this. If you mess up, we won't vote for you next time. And if you are a disaster, we can recall you. Yes. I don't think we've taken advantage of the recall mechanism, especially for people in what they call it in the state legislature, or the national legislature, or at any office. You can recall people.
In addition to that, I think that is still even possible in Nigeria, because we know that a couple of times, all the times Shiwole contested, they had this thing set up for him and people donated. People are still donating to today. Yeah. But what we are seeing in Nigerian politics, that most of these big players, they are trillionaires. They probably don't even need the masses, because they have money they have kept somewhere for the next election. It happens every 4 years. So when they take the money, they just stack it somewhere to run for another election. It's like investment for them. And in addition to that, I think a Dangote or somebody once donated money to some individuals in the past. So we still have some very few individuals or companies or corporations who still donate money to this. But it is not as big as it is abroad, because here they steal you the money and there's nothing they can do, because they even, and again, another way, we see have some of these people, they still play other politics, like new building for the judges, houses, cars. These are another way of settling them ahead of the next election. Okay, we have masses, we have people, we have government workers who does not even have, a place to stay. And then we have this housing corporation, this corporation, it's not for the masses. Even when they build, they sell it to their own friends and their associates, not to the masses.
Are you saying that's compromising those institutions that are supposed to actually provide checks and balances, the legislature, the judiciary, and all of them? Because ordinarily, it is a state government that is supposed to build structure for construct courts and all of that. Fund the judiciary. does it mean by doing that I'm twisting them?
Well, well, we can look in different ways. But I think when they have they have a legislative quarters, they have judiciary quarters. But if you think maybe before the next election, what happened to all these structures? But they want to build a new one. They want to give you new cars almost every 2-3 years. So why are we doing that? When in a country where we say we don't have money, in a country where we have to borrow almost every time, up to trillion, then we keep borrowing to do what? Not for the masses, to settle these individuals. You build maybe new houses every year for them. You probably give their kids scholarship, do all kind of things. Like I was reading an article recently, and they mentioned that look at most of them. What is it called? Wiki, for example, the wife is a judge, and he'll tell you nothing happened in my state because he think, oh, my wife is in charge. The wife now, I think, is in Supreme Court or Court of Appeal. So we have other politicians too. Look at it. Most of them now, they want to have family member in high places. Even the promotion in the judiciary, there's a way they structure it, because they know that these people are coming back to the tribunal. So when my people are there, I'm covered.
Why do we then have to blame the politician alone? Why can't you also blame the occupiers of those sensitive institutions, the judiciary, the legislature, of course, we also voted into office. Of course, the judiciary, members are not voted into office. Then the people, civil servants. There's this common saying within the civil service that when a politician comes, it is the civil servant who tell him or her where the big money is. Mr. Olabode.
Why are you calling them?
No, you have the experience yourself.
You're a public affairs analyst.
Well, as sad as it is also very, very laughable. Now, I think the panacea for this is we must actually go back to civics. True. We need to go back to civics. And then begin to educate our people on the dangers and the ills of corruption, particularly starting from the people that they collect money from to vote. Now, look at it. We are collecting 20,000 at the most. In the next 4 years, this amount of money would not be sufficient for fixing all the infrastructure that we are clamoring for. So why would we have to do this? Now, secondly, don't put pressure on family members who have come into a particular office. Now, because the norm is once somebody becomes a governor, becomes a commissioner, his inner circle will throw a party. Now it is our own turn to chop. Our own time don't reach. Let's stop that culture of our person is there.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to actually say that even within families, as soon as Mr. Olabode becomes chairman of Abeokuta South Local Government, for instance, I come to you as Mr. Olabode.
What's all it from being a senator now?
A senator. I'm also a contractor, So that sense of entitlement, I think, also permeates the entire strata of the society, isn't it?
It does, and sadly so, because it has become normal. We have normalized it, and we don't see anything wrong with it. But I think we can start with a new model where, if one of us becomes a judge, a commissioner, a senator, we come together and then look at how best to support him to succeed. The loopholes he should be aware of. Because once he feels it rubs us on all of us, whether we like it or not, as his friends.
Yeah.
So let's not be concerned about what to get, but what to contribute to it.
All right, it's the political update on OGTV. We'll take this short break. We'll return shortly. Please stay with us. All right, it's still political update on OGTV, and my name is Biodun Alabi, and of course I still have in the studio with me Dr. Raymond Demudia, a political analyst. We've had to allow Bayo Olabode leave us for some emergencies, and so we're going to continue with Dr. Demudia. And of course, you that are watching us, we are also creating an opportunity for you to also call us on this program now. Let's hear your opinions on the matters that we have been talking about surrounding the topic of today, political parties and candidates credibility test. Yeah, we've spoken so much about formation of political parties in Nigeria. We've spoken about integrity, party ideology. Now let's move to internal democracy. I don't think political parties should really beat their chest and say, yes, we are strong political parties without internal democracy. But what have you seen of how internal democracy has been working within Nigerian political parties in recent years?
Well, talking about internal democracy. Democracy, we know that a lot of people fought for this democracy to come into existence, and we have different form of like NADECO and a lot of other groups who were there to make sure that this democracy come into existence. But we cannot take away internal democracy, because we can see that in some states, like APC right now, in most of the states, they are doing consensus candidates. So is the consensus candidate the choice of the people or the choice of the internal body who think, oh, these are preferred candidate for one reason or the other? Maybe there was a previous...
What if that's part of the constitution of the party, APC? Is there anything wrong in parties agreeing to choose their candidates by consensus?
Well, I think it could be part of their internal constitution, but we know that in past years that has never been the case. We saw Vice President Shibanjo with Tinubu and other people contesting for presidential primary election, and we watched it live. Even I wasn't there in Abuja, but we all saw what transpired, what happened, and we've been there. We've seen some years ago. I was there in Abeokuta South when Dimeji Bankole and a few other people were contesting for House of Rep. I was a candidate. No, I was a, what is it called? I was a delegate. So this thing gives the people to choose credibility. But if you are going to say that, oh, this is what who the party want, so who dictate the party? We know that every state is headed by the governor of the state, and we know that the president also have a say. So that means the people at the grassroots eventually does not have a say.
But the parties have leaders too. They have leaders. They have opinion shapers. You know, the parties have fathers.
Yes.
They have mothers. They have leaders who should be seen to be honest enough to go for credible people to run for their parties. You know.
Well, from my experience, I was born in Abeokuta, Okejigbo to be precise. I know even a friend of mine contested last election and told me how much he spent on these leaders. You know, buying even cars for some of them. We're talking about these leaders in questions. Most of them, they are just after which candidate is richer or whoever can do most for me. Even though they don't even deliver because they think, oh, this is my own settlement from this election. At election period, that is when you see most of these people, you know, they look different because the money keeps coming in. And like I said, the candidates on their own, they always set aside amount of money. If you look at the analysis from EFCC recently, they said Nigeria spent trillions when it comes to election. Trillions of money. And where do you think they're going to get this money back? When they go back to their office, when they eventually get into office, that's when they get this money back. I was speaking with somebody 2 days ago and he said, oh, an AIG is organizing a party because I just been promoted. And I'm like, what is the party for? They are doing, what is it called, Thanksgiving in, you know, parties and all that. Do you think they're just doing this? Because I said, okay, this is a opportunity now, I'm here now. You know, they know what comes with these offices. So that is why they celebrate it big time.
But the issue is that we can't extricate EFCC, ICPC, all those you know, bodies that are supposed to you know, check and balance things in democracy. They are part and parcel of democracy. Yes. But how many people have they actually arrested or punished or reprimanded for spending billions on election campaigns and all of that? How many in recent times? I've not seen. I've not.
Well,
I don't know if you have seen.
Well, I agree with you, but I know they are doing it. To be honest with you, but I think sometimes they do what we call witch hunts. They only go for opposition leaders. We can see Yaya Bello there in Kogi State. Yaya Bello, with all you know, we have the records there. Even paying his children tuition years ahead of time, billions. You know, all these things are there. But what are we saying today? Is he a candidate for is it a senatorial district in Kogi State? Somebody who should be under trial. Okay, look at well, I'm about to say, Look at Akwabi, for example. These people have records, not even a good one. They have record of corruption. But have they been tried? No. All you have to do is to say, you know what, I'm behind this presidency, this presidential candidate, especially the one that's incumbent. Then you are covered. You are, you know what they say, touch not my anointed, that do my prophet no harm. So you become untouchable as far as you are affiliated with the ruling party. That's what I've seen so far. So the body in itself, who appoint the leaders? The presidency. So if I appointed you, so you dance to my tone, I give you the order. Is the chief commander is commander in chief of the country. So if I give you order, that means you follow my order, because that is me. So as far as there is no independent body, these people, their budgets still come from the presidency.
Independent body.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at how independent, how truly independent is the Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria?
Well, I don't think they are independent at all, because first of all, does the budget come directly from CBN?
What if Dr. Adebodia, you contest an election?
Yes.
Or you contested an election and you won? Will you say INEC did a good job or bad job?
Well, that will be by miracle as we speak today, because I know some of us are, no, to be honest, because we know that we don't have the money to battle with these people, except we have to radically, conscientize our people to let them know money politics is not the best. However, like he said before he left, we still need money to run the affairs of the political parties. However, we cannot be going to polls. We've seen in last elections, people going to polls with a bag of money, handing out money to individuals and telling them who to vote for. Those people should be prosecuted. They should make sure these things are stopped.
The givers or the takers?
Both the givers and the takers. But what happens if your party wins? Even if you're arrested today, they drop the charges. Remember, the AG has the power to continue or to stop the prosecution.
Will it be fair enough to arrest a woman who lives on the Okejigbo street? You and I grew up in Abeokuta.
Yes.
Who sells roasted corn and collected like maybe 5,000 naira from a politician, because truly she knows that with 5,000 naira, her business is done and dusted for the week. She could go back to the market and buy a bag of corn for 5,000 naira. And all of that. Will it be fair?
Well, you are very right. Because with 10,000, you can start a akara business or corn business or kuli business.
Exactly.
Well, like you said, this is poverty. I know people of your caliber cannot go to polling booth and be waiting for 10,000 for you to vote for your own kind of person. I can never go to a polling booth and say, oh, give me 20,000 or 100,000 to vote for somebody, because we know God has elevated us above those kind of money. So which candidate is ready to give you 1 million, 2 million, 10 million for that? It's not possible. So the masses still need to be educated on this. However, if there's no, what we call poverty, things is going to take a different shape. As far as we speak, it's being weaponized. But they have to keep people like that so that they can continue to dictate to them.
But there's poverty too in those advanced countries. In the US, there's poverty. In UK, there is poverty. In Germany, there is poverty. You don't think so?
Well, when we talk about poverty, it's not that kind of poverty.
It's relative.
Well, I live in the US.
Yeah.
But I know that.
Are there no places in US that could be likened to slums?
But maybe in very remote areas
where people live.
However, let me tell you, even at that, there is a provision of electricity and water for you, no matter where you live.
Basics.
The basics are there. We have not seen anybody coming out to say, we want to commission a road or we want to commission a bridge. But here in Nigeria, a governor is commissioning a road, then you have to bring the obas there, bring ministers, everybody will line up. When we were little or younger, we know that when roads were being constructed, I went to public school, we come out to line up on the roadside, to be waving, hands, to go, all this kind of, I don't want to use foul language. These things are not supposed to be. So why should we still have things like that in today? Okay, my daughter was asking me the other day when he came to Nigeria, when he switched on the light for the first time and said, where is the electricity? I said, are you joking? You have to go and turn on the generator. I said, what is that? She doesn't even know what that is. So if you are saying there is a kind of poverty abroad, so we understand, but not to this level. Nigeria is nothing to write about when it comes to poverty. To be honest, I grew up in Abeokuta, so I know this area. I know. I was driving here today and I was looking at the condition of the road. And I'm like, wow. So these things you cannot see it abroad. Look at the road going that way. You will not find it in America. You will not find it in the United Kingdom. It's not possible.
Nigeria is 66 years, 66 years after independence. Compare that to America that spent over 200 years in existence. Are we not being too hard on ourselves?
Well, let's not go to America. You took me that way. Let's go to Rwanda. Let's go to South Africa. Let's go to all this. Let's go to Ghana. Let's go to Ivory Coast. I was in Ivory Coast some years back in 2006, and I can tell you for far, even from the airport where we landed, the four of us that went from Nigeria were asked to step aside. Our passport was scrutinized. We were differently searched. That's stigmatization right there. And aside that, the place where we lived, where we stayed in an apartment. At least there was a street light, there was traffic light. Even though some of them were not fancy, but they were functioning. I'm talking about 2006. My daughter said something to me not long ago. He said, I can never drive in Nigeria. I said, why? In Abeokuta. Because I can't see no traffic light. I said,
no, there are traffic lights now.
Where? Okay, Lewo, and where? Okay, tell me. Ibarra.
Yeah.
And Ijai.
And it wasn't like this. The only traffic light we had then, in the 80s or in growing up in Abeokuta.
No, let's talk about when Oshoba was there. There was traffic light that is Salake.
But we have seen developments too over the years.
What I'm saying is, it's been how many years now since Obasanjo, Governor Olusegun Oshoba left? Those days there was a traffic light at Lantoro Junction.
Yeah.
No, so we should have developed more than where we are today. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Doctor, in 5 minutes we'll close this program.
Okay.
Let's quickly look at the system of government Nigeria is practicing. Some people say presidential system of government is humongous. Why can't you go the other way? Do you think so?
Talking about federalism and other kind of
maybe parliamentary system of government and all of that.
I think parliamentary system of government will do Nigeria a lot good, because let people be elected to the parliament and let them decide who is who. That way no individual is influencing. Look at, for example, now the president right now has promised some people support me, get an automatic ticket. So you are compelled to support the president. If you look at almost all senators, governors, and you will see when they bring their pictures out, you will see the president next to them. That is what. No, it's because they know that the president is behind me. If I support this presidential candidate, I will be covered even at all levels. So that should not be the case in Nigeria. Look, if you go to all these countries we're talking about, like look at Britain, for example, who we are trying to mirror. They're having a parliamentary system of government. They gave us independence, right? So if we really want to be honest with ourselves, why don't we practice parliamentary system of government? But because these people are scared. If they practice something like that, they may end up being on the bench.
So when Obama was campaigning or contesting, and Donald Trump was contesting, they had posters. So we didn't see pictures of
rep members, senator candidates, and
but isn't that what is actually wrong in that? Isn't that cultural to us and not cultural to America?
It is. Well, the thing is this, right? We know the politics here. Like we're already saying right now, the presidency or the party decide who and who is going. They're saying that we are not having primaries. We have a consensus candidate. So because you have been given, you must campaign for them. You have the task to campaign for some of them. Wherever you go, they must see the presidential candidate of the party and they must see the individual. But that's not the case in most of these countries. My friend was telling me. My friend was telling me recently. He said, "Oh, if I want to leave US, I will go and stay in South Africa, not Nigeria." Because people are looking at other African countries. I was even saying maybe Rwanda. We are looking at other African countries where everything seems to be well organized compared to Nigeria. Here it's mano.
But it takes somebody to live in Rwanda or even in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, to truly understand how the system works there. I think a visit of just 1 month is not enough.
Well, visit of just 1 month is not enough. But what we have done, we have ChatGPT, we have all kind of things you can do too. You can even ask which country is the best in the world right now. You can even ask them to analyze the economy, security-wise. these things are there. They are in public knowledge. Everybody can easily lay their fingers on this information. You don't necessarily have to live there for you to have this information. You can visit, like I said, people even say, oh, what happened in the US? I said, look, if you don't live in the US, you don't know what happened to the system. People that live there can tell you. But for some of us, we've traveled far. I lived in the UK before for several years. You cannot tell me, oh, this is the way it is in the UK. No, I've been there. I've been in the US, I've been in the UK, I've been to several countries in the world. I have seen things. So I have a better knowledge of these countries. However, like I said, I'm an IT analyst. I can go on my computer, I can analyze any of these things we want to do. So you don't necessarily have to travel to Rome. Like we always say, when you're in Rome, you behave like Romans. Maybe you've never been to Rome, but we know that they are this same. So you can easily have this knowledge.
But does it mean that as a Nigerian, you find yourself in Nigerian politics, and as they say, if you are in Rome, you behave like Romans. If you are in Nigeria, won't you behave like Nigerians?
Well, as we speak, some of us are interested in politics, but we don't think it's the right time to go into it.
Yeah.
When
will it be the right time?
Well, because we want to see if things will be done differently. As it is right now, it's all about money. It's about who you know. In fact, let me tell you, somebody once asked me, can you kill to be there?
But it's also important that some of us go in to change the system.
Well, first of all, you must have some money stacked up somewhere. Look, somebody said something jokingly. He said, don't use your hard-earned money to run for an office. No, because, look, let me tell you, we know a few people like Okiro, former Commissioner of Police in Ogun State. He spent billions. What happened? It wasn't even able to secure the primary ticket. So they've said that don't ever use your personal money. But some of us that we are trying to use our personal money, we want to make sure there's a big campaign, there's a big conscientization of electorate. They have to know that this thing we have to stop the money politics. That is what some of us are looking into. If they stop money politics today, we will be out there, showing our political interest.
We have to close the program now. Dr. Raymond Idimudia, a political analyst, we must thank you so much for coming on this program.
Before we close the program, I need to correct that I'm not a doctor. I am still in school. I'm still working towards that.
Oh, okay.
I have not been confirmed here.
Okay.
So that I don't get sued tomorrow.
Okay. You are viewing PhD, right?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes,
you get it by the special grace of God.
Amen.
We must also thank Mr. Bayo Olabode, a public affairs analyst who had to leave because of emergencies. That's the program this week, Political Update on OGTV. We'll come back next Friday with another edition of the program. Keep watching The People's Daily. Bye for now.